Putin and Donald Trump took the stage separately at a forum filled with U.S. military veterans, but Trump used the opportunity to praise the leadership of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Take a look.
If he says great things about me, I'm going to say great things about him. I've already said he is really very much of a leader. I mean, you can say, oh, isn't that a terrible thing? He called him in. The man has very strong control over a country. Now, it's a very different system, and I don't happen to like the system, but certainly in that system, he's been a leader far more than our president has been a leader. We have a divided country.
You know, he forgets that. Good.
I didn't say it.
Good. Good. Well, he forgets we have checks and balances in this country. We have a constitution. The Russians don't have such a thing.
But he said, y'all are going to boo me for a second, but he said he doesn't agree with everything that he says and does for his country, and I would say that the Russian people would not agree with all of Putin's policies, but I can tell you that the majority of the Russian people feel safe, that when someone comes to attack them, Putin stands up for that country. Nobody messes with Russia. Nobody wants to, and the people feel good. I have family that lives in Russia. I can say that they go, hey, Putin has my back. And so when I hear Trump say something like that, I think he admires the personality that Putin has to defend his country, which we have been viewed as weak.
I wish he had. Well, we have not been weak in the last 8 years because we're still here.
I said viewed as.
But the thing I would say about Putin is I would talk to the Russian Jews and see how they feel about Putin, see how safe they feel. You know, he's been a little but you know, he's entitled to his opinion. He said the man said nice things about him.
He mentions that Putin has, what is it, 92% approval rating or 82% approval rating. Like, that means something in Russia. I mean, the Poles of Russia. I mean, is he talking about Polish people or is he talking about Poles? Because the dictatorship that is Putin is controlling the Poles, okay?
Yeah, the media has no representation in Russia.
Right, go ahead,
Gay people have no representation in Russia. People have no rights in Russia. There are tons of human rights violations in Russia. Listen, Donald Trump, if you're going to praise everybody who has something nice to say about you, what happens next when the dictators around the world come out and say, well, we like what Donald Trump did today? Is the president, the potential president of the United States of America, then going to have their back? You don't say nice things about Putin who doesn't deserve it just because he said nice stuff about you.
It's so unpatriotic, is what it is. And for him to say such things in front of our military is a disgrace to this. It's a disgrace, in my opinion.
Well, yesterday we talked about moderators calling out, you know, candidates for stuff like this. And do you think, based on what you saw yesterday, that he was challenged, that he challenged Trump enough, or do you think it was harder on Hillary, or was it even?
It was harder on Hillary. I think anything that goes against Hillary, there's going to be a problem for it. You were too soft, you were too hard. I think he, as a journalist, knows that she is a concrete candidate and can handle those questions. With Trump, you have to weed through the weeds to get through the marsh, then up to the forest.
To the lies.
Like, you have to find it. You have to, you know, so I think...
What do you have to do?
You got to get in there. So you have to find your way through it.
It's kind of like a gynecologist.
You miss me? I miss you too.
Yes.
But I just feel like there wasn't any problem, and I think, again, it's the female card that we're subconsciously playing all the time when it comes to things like this. Are you being too hard on her? But she can handle it. Watch her handle it. Watch how she does it.
Didn't you think, though, that Matt, we were talking yesterday about how the moderators are not going to question the validity and the veracity of what these candidates say. In other words, when they're lying, are you going to fact check? So, Trump comes out and says that he was against the Iraq War. Well, it's highly documented that he was for the Iraq War before he said he was against it. So he lied right there in front of all of that all those military people, in front of the American people, yet again. And Matt Lauer did not call him on it. And
Why do you think he didn't?
Why do you think he didn't do it?
Yes.
I don't know. You tell me. Why do you think he didn't?
I don't know.
Matt Lauer did call him on a lie when Trump at the meeting
not that
one, but he did call him on one when he said, you know, what is your military plan to beat ISIS? And he goes, well, I don't have a plan right now, but I'm going to get these people in. And then he went back and said, so you have people, but you don't have a plan. No, I have a plan. He kept going back. What happens is Trump backpedals and confuses you. So then you have to like go to the next question because you don't even know what you're talking about by the end of the discussion.
I mean, we did talk yesterday, though. I think Joy makes a good point about the role of the moderators. And I think if you have a candidate on record, that was a great example with the Iraq War. If you have a candidate on record as having said something specifically about their stand on an issue, whether it's the Republican candidate or the Democrat candidate, that's an opportunity where you have to interject yourself because that is a matter of public record. Then you're going to have journalists across the ideological spectrum that are going to say, he said this, it's in video or it's in testimony, it's your job to bring it forth. And that's not an issue where he's going to be, you know, people are going to say, oh, he's siding with one candidate or another. No, he's siding with that candidate's former statement that he or she made. So that's perfectly legit for me. And
you know, it's kind of amazing when all 6 of the journalists that are out there get together and say, hey, we got to pay attention to stuff.
Yeah.
Only 6 of them. Yeah. Libertarian candidate Governor Gary Johnson. Yeah! Will be here in a few minutes. He's having a hell of a morning, honey. He's got a lot of media exposure right now because of his appearance on Morning Joe a little bit ago. Take a look.
What would you do if you were elected about Aleppo?
About?
Aleppo.
And what is Aleppo?
You're kidding.
No.
Aleppo is in Syria. It's the epicenter of the refugee crisis.
Okay, got it. Got it.
So before he comes out to talk about this, let me ask you guys, what was your reaction? Was it a surprise that he wasn't aware? Was it a snafu? What do you think?
I think it's a problem, mostly because he's trying to bring in a lot of conservatives over to the libertarian side. And libertarians, I'm a libertarian, I like a lot of his policies. Libertarians have a reputation among the hawkish wing of the Republican Party as being ignorant on foreign policy issues. The people say, well, they're isolationist. They don't care about our involvement overseas, so they don't know about it. So this was a moment where he kind of fell into that stereotype that I don't think is accurate about a lot of libertarians, about Rand Paul and whatnot. But in a time when people are worried about national security, they're scared. I think when you see someone make a mistake like this, it gives them pause and they say, wait a second, is this someone that we can send out there? Is this someone that's ready for the job today to be Commander-in-Chief of the United States?
But he said, you know what, I don't know. And he said, I don't know everything. And he knows throughout his entire candidacy that he goes, you know what, I'm not right about everything. I don't know everything and I'm learning.
But
he at least
should know.
He
As
should.
a man running for president of the United States, he should know what Aleppo is. But my heart sank watching that video for him, and it was a brain freeze moment for him. But I also think that it was a poorly worded question, because when we're talking about this, everyone talks about it as the Syrian refugee crisis. So the way it was worded, if elected president, what will you do about Aleppo? I think it was a little bit of a gotcha, but he should have been on his toes more to have answered.
Well, all right, the libertarians agree with you, but I don't agree with that, because I knew what Aleppo was, and if I know it, he should know, and I'm not running for president. A few weeks ago, there was a picture of a child, a 5-year-old child, who was damaged by the war that's going on there, and the bombing, etc. I don't know if anybody saw it. It was an iconic shot, like the one from My Lai years and years ago, of a child in the middle of war, and it said Aleppo child, or something to that effect. And it went viral. It went viral. Now, if I know it, and I don't even know what viral means, I don't even have it. I mean, what does it mean? It goes all over Twitter. What does it mean? He should know it. I think it's disqualifying.
Does it have anything to do with the fact that he is so low on the polls, only in, those big national polls? He doesn't have the people around him to prep him for these things? Is that an excuse or a reason?
I don't know if there's... well, you know what? Let us stop trying to figure it out. The gentleman's going to be out here in a little while. We'll ask him.
Yep.
Right.
So, we'll see what Govs has to say about this, because he'll be here next live.
So Hot Topics got heated.
Somebody comes.
The Libertarian presidential candidate, Governor Gary Johnson, is having a hell of a morning right now, and we're glad he's joining us live to talk about it. Please welcome Governor Gary Johnson. So we talked a little bit about the interview you had this morning. Did you have a brain freeze moment, or was it that the phrase Aleppo threw you? What?
No excuse. I was thinking in terms of acronym, Aleppo.
Right.
That's no excuse whatsoever, but the dynamics in play in Syria is that you've got the Assad regime up against the Free Syrian Army, which we support, that are allied with the Islamists, ISIS. And you can't make this stuff up. We support the Free Syrian Army. Free Syrian Army, we've heavily armed. Those arms end up in ISIS hands. This is as a result of us supporting regime change, which I maintain, when it comes to regime change in my lifetime, that has not turned out to be positive. I can't think of a single example of where that has turned out.
You agree with Trump on that, I think. Trump says that, too.
Well, I have trouble following Trump and what he says.
He says that. You're not the only one. That's what she's... Right.
He makes you confused, but a lot of things that I read about you is you don't believe in going in and meddling in other people's business.
Well, correct. And Trump does say some things that do make sense. NATO and the fact that NATO should commit to 2% of their GDP, those members that are in NATO, and only 2 of those countries are participating in that. So we kind of underwrite social programs in Europe on the back of our military.
Governor, let me ask you, we talk a lot about media bias. Do you think this was a fair question, or did they see a libertarian?
No.
Sometimes, yeah, but sometimes the perception is about libertarians. I'm a libertarian, that, oh, libertarians believe in isolationism. They don't know about foreign policy. And here they come out with this question. Do you think it's fair game?
Yeah, absolutely. It's fair game. I'm running for president of the United States. And everything is fair game. And, hey, it's how you deal with adversity that ultimately determines success. I mean, that's all of our lives, is how we do that.
And by the way, thank you for saying I don't know, because that's human.
Well,
that's human. That happens.
I have to, you know, you heard what I said maybe in the beginning of the show. I know what Aleppo was. I know what it is. And I should not be any smarter than you, because you're running for president. Having said that, I'm sure Trump doesn't know what Aleppo is either. So, you know, I think it's a disqualifying statement, frankly.
Yeah, and fair enough. And fair enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me ask you something, because
So will you get out of the race now?
No, never.
one of the things that you just said is, so what's your plan to get us out? Because, you know, Obama came in, he didn't put us in the wars. We had 2, 3 wars going when he got here. So what's your plan to get us out of there?
Well, talking about Syria and Libya, we went in, we supported regime change, and that wasn't Obama, that was Obama and Hillary, and this was not intentional. Not intentional.
Yeah, no, but how do you get us out?
Well,
because we got other wars that we're...
Yeah, and to get out of Syria, that has to be joining hands with Russia diplomatically to make this happen. And that isn't to say that Obama isn't pursuing that currently, but that is the key, in my opinion, to resolving Syria. And of course, we have the situation right now where Syria and the United States may come to actual military conflict in this area. So very complex. Kurds, here it is. We're backing the Kurds, but the Kurds are... you know, against Turkey, and Turkey's our ally. This is all very, very complex, but it's supporting regime change that is ultimately the cause for all of these conflicts, starting with Iraq.
I have to ask you a question. So when I'm talking to certain people, I say, you know what, I might vote for Gary Johnson. I might vote for Jill Stein. And I'm told, don't do it, because you're going to be taking away the vote from whoever might be getting it, who's ever in the lead. Why should I vote for you? And I feel like I should vote for whoever I want to.
Well, I think a wasted vote is voting for somebody that you don't believe in. And I think unique to this race is that I'm squarely in the middle of this race. I'm fiscally conservative, small government. I don't believe that government has the answer to everything. It's money out of your and my pocket when it comes to taxes. That could be money we would be spending on our lives. You know, I'm socially inclusive. I happen to be socially liberal. I think people should be able to make choices in their own lives regardless of those choices, as long as they don't put others in harm's way. I also am very skeptical about regime change, and I do believe in free markets. I do believe that is a way to bring the world together. I reject the notion that libertarians are isolationists. They're just non-interventionists. When we get involved in other countries' affairs, it has the unintended consequence of making things worse, not better. And Joy, if you want to waste your vote on Hillary, I mean, it's okay.
I'll tell you something. Let me just jump in. I hate to be the one to ask this question, but some are speculating because of the interview this morning that this may be the end to your campaign. How do you plan on recovering?
Well,
can you recover?
Gosh, I guess people will have to make that judgment. But I will say that it is a process, and I respect the process. And for those that believe this is a disqualifier, so be it. But, you know, I've been really well served in my life by always telling the truth. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. And I think the one unforgivable in life is hypocrisy, saying one thing and doing another.
That's good of you. If someone had a gun to your head, would you vote for Hillary or Trump?
I'd let it go off.
Would you really? Disagree with that type of thinking. I see you as a Ralph Nader, a total spoiler in this business, and I think you should think about that.
Well, and I genuinely believe that I have the opportunity to win at this point.
Really?
Yeah, and that would.
He has the Bernie
You don't even have enough percentage in the polls to do the debate.
This is what's going to happen. The governor, because we have to go, and he's staying, and so I need to let folks know that. Okay. That's why. Governor Gary Johnson is sticking around, and we will be right back.
Yeah, I just want to say, you know, I know Joy had mentioned her opinion that you were a spoiler. To me, you're not a spoiler. This two-party system has failed so many people. To me, you are someone who stands for something. And I just want to say, I'm glad you're in the race. And you know what? If it takes votes from this one or if it takes votes from that one, it forces those candidates to be better candidates, and it makes this country better that you're in the race. So thank you for being there.
But he also has 39% of the younger people, 33 and under, on Facebook. You have it. Where are your people? Where are the Bernie supporters? This is the next best guy. Where are these people that I know I'm friends with. Why aren't they getting called to be polled?
Well, I actually think that this is growing in a big way. Analytics, Washington Post just 2 days ago posted that we were 13% in the polls. We're at 15% plus in 15 states. We're at 19% plus in 6 states, and 42 states we're above 10%.
Maybe after this. Go ahead.
You're lobbying to be able to get on that debate stage, the presidential debate. But in order to do that, you have to be at 15% of votes. And right now you're hovering at just below at 12%. So what is the game plan to get on that stage and get...
Well, we actually have money to spend right now, and we're spending it in 21 states. So we think we're going to make it. And by the way, if you don't make the first debate, that doesn't close the door for subsequent debates. And 15% is not in stone. And I think when you win at 12%, you're representing 16, 17 million people, 16, 17 million voters that should deserve a place on stage.
So let me ask you a question, because the two-party system may have failed a lot of people, but it's been the system that I grew up with. And I'm actually pretty good with a lot of the stuff that has happened. It's not a perfect system. It's not a perfect country, and I get that. But so let's say now you get the momentum and you're in. How much contact have you had with all of this kind of crazy press stuff, where they're in your underwear, looking in your garbage, doing your stuff, and then should you win and you get into the presidency, and you're faced with a Congress that, say, Obama's had, a Congress and Senate that said, we're not doing jack for you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, the pitch is that if either Clinton or Trump are elected, look, does anybody believe that the polarity that exists in Congress is going to get any better? I mean, we all acknowledge that it's going to get worse.
I want to know.
How are you going to check and balance them?
What's your, because if you're serious, this is like, you gotta know that's what you're coming into.
Well, so you elect a couple of libertarians, a couple of former Republican governors that served in heavily Democrat states that served 2 terms each, being fiscally conservative, socially inclusive. I think, and hiring a bipartisan administration, Democrats and Republicans, so neither side's going to be able to call out the fact that this is partisan. Libertarians, everybody's going to be libertarian leaning. But I think that what I just pointed out is that third option has a real opportunity to be able to call out both sides to come to the table to deal with the issue.
But how are you going to get these? No. If those are the people you're going to bring in. I'm talking about the folks that are in there now.
Well, you could call out Republicans by saying, look, if you really want smaller government, let's not start with Planned Parenthood. Let's not even put that on the table. How about let's deal with the entitlements, with Medicare, Medicaid, really serious issues that we're facing. Social Security, look, if we don't reform Social Security, it is headed to a fiscal cliff. And on the Democrat side, let's just start with the war on drugs. The fact that we have the highest incarceration rate of any country in the world.
They're both talking about that. Everyone's
just learning about you. I understand where you stand politically, but can I ask you personally, are you a man of faith?
Yes, well, yes, I am. And from that standpoint, that I have lived my life by the golden rule: do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Raised a Christian, but I don't ever wear that on my sleeve either. I do believe in the separation of church and state.
I think if people knew more about your stand on the issues, I actually think you'd be getting great traction in this election, particularly young people. If you can answer me in just one sentence, I'm going to give you an issue and tell me how you feel about it. When we talk about immigration, wall or no wall?
No wall. We should embrace immigration. We should make it as easy as possible to come to this country and work, to be able to get a work visa. The government's responsible for the immigration crisis.
Okay, we got to move quick through these. Climate change. Should we be funding efforts to combat climate change or not?
Climate change exists. Funding it. Look, we're 16% of the problem, and I'm sorry, these aren't just one-sentence answers, but...
do the best you can, but...
Obama says it's the most terrifying thing of our time.
Legalize weed or...
Legalize weed.
There you go. Abortion, pro-choice, pro-life?
Pro-choice.
And same-sex marriage?
Pro same-sex marriage.
Okay.
How about guns? How about guns? Do you believe people should be allowed to have AR-15s?
Well, pro-Second Amendment, AR-15s is in the same category as a hunting rifle, so if you're going to ban AR-15...
Those ones that have a lot of ammunition that can shoot a lot of people at one time. Are you for that for people?
Not for automatic weapons, and those have been banned now for a couple of decades.
There's a number of websites to get all of the information for what you stand on. Please, if you like Gary Johnson, do what you can. Thanks to Governor Gary Johnson. We'll be right back.
Love our new theme? Well, go to iTunes and search Mary J. Blige The View, and you can download this new awesome single right now.
It's 50 years ago today. It was the premiere of the landmark series. And I am privileged to be a part of Star Trek. And half a century later, the voyage of the Starship Enterprise continues. It's an amazing 50 years. That's extraordinary. That it's been around.
How many things in Star Trek came true? Like, how many things in Star Trek came true? Cell phone. iPhone,
A lot
right?
of you know,
Right?
science fiction is one of the greatest ways to see what the future is going to bring, because it always shows up talking computers, you know, Siri,
Exactly.
computer talk to the same thing.
I've said it before, but my dad was a huge Star Trek fan, and my brother's name is Kirk because of Captain Kirk. No
yes.
kidding.
Really?
Yep. Named after him.
Do you have anything from the set still? Did you keep anything from the set?
I have one or two things. I don't have any in my hat, so I would have worn one. But, you know, I did my first Star Trek convention this
Really?
year. Yeah,
How was
that's
it?
one of my hats. But, you know, I wanted to do the second show, the Next Generation, because of the woman who played Lieutenant Uhura. Because before Star Trek, there were no people of color in the future. And it was the first time when I saw her, and she wasn't just, she didn't look like the, you know, the regular ladies you saw at the time. This was a hot bitch. Everybody, you know, Kirk wanted her, everybody, Spock wanted, he didn't even know why. He wanted her. But it was extraordinary. She was a strong woman. She was in charge of communications, which meant nothing happened on that ship without her.
Yeah.
And that was Gene Roddenberry's mindset, to make sure that the women, when they were portrayed as strong women. I miss Gene, and I appreciate it. Anyway, from that to this, Kanye West is the talk of New York Fashion Week right now, after the unveiling of his new Yeezy line. Now, it featured models kind of flopping on the catwalk and fainting in the hot sun. And,
oh, my God.
You know, he's just, you know, come on. I mean, you know, the poor little girl, they couldn't walk. Their feet was too...
Is it true that that fashion show was held on abandoned smallpox hospital grounds? I read that somewhere.
Yes, there are a couple of, it's been abandoned for many, many years and cleaned up.
What he needed to do was put Tiana Taylor on that runway and have her walk down that runway. And that video was everything. It's okay, Kanye. We know that your clothes still are $1,000.
Does this affect his line at all?
No.
It doesn't.
No,
right?
it'll never affect his line.
Nothing affects it. He's like Trump.
But that's what it is about social media and today. No matter how bad you mess up,
It's not like Trump.
he's not.
But nothing affects him. Listen, I'm a dog with a bone, okay?
No matter how bad you mess up in our world as it stands right now with social media, you'll always get more followers. The more crazy you sound, the more people want to see what you're going to say. It's just how it is nowadays.
Well,
so
for the first time, my daughter's walking at the Sherry Hill fashion show on Monday, and she's gonna, for the first time, so I hope there's no incidents like that at their show.
Well, there's nothing more interesting than watching models walk. There's just nothing
terrifying.
better.
It's so
Yeah,
terrifying.
you're never sure, because you get this thing. You know.
do it. Walk.
You hope.
Walk. Walk.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Walk.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back. The summer blockbuster, The Jungle Book, just came out on DVD Blu-ray, and thanks to our parent company, Disney, members of our audience are getting a copy.
You know, speaking of people losing their minds, the new iPhone 7 has been announced, and people are freaking out because it doesn't have a headphone jack. It'll come with complete...
Calm it down.
Hold on. Okay.
This is going to be awesome.
It's completely wireless. It's individual earbuds called AirPods. And, you know, look, you got over everything else.
This is true. They started modeling their computers that don't have disk drives anymore, and it's the same. We all get used to it. And if you want it, you buy an adapter and you plug one into it. It's not a big deal.
But let's look at the plus side. You get 2 better cameras, front and back. You get 2 speakers, top and bottom. You get an extra home button that does extra features, and there's a jet black. But it only comes in the higher 2 gigabytes, which is like over.
And it actually does. It will actually make a phone call for you, too.
But what I understand from what they said, it's just these 2 little things that you can lose. Now,
They're AirPods. People lose the cords all the time.
does it have a cord?
It doesn't matter because those cords break and you still got to pay $35 to get more
So there
phones.
is a cord.
No, you got to
charge cord, but
They're wireless.
Worried
They're
about
just
losing
wireless.
them. People, 10 cents, get a
But
Ziploc bag.
you can get over-the-ear buds if you want. You just get over-the-ear wireless
And
buds.
I think they're going to have an auxiliary jack that connects to the thing at the bottom, right? What's it called? It's not
This
the
is
charger
fine.
anymore.
What's
They
wrong
changed
with this one? This is
So
fine.
keep it. Keep it. Just
Don't
keep
get
it.
another one.
It teaches us so much about people
Lightning jack.
because every time something new comes out, everybody panics, right? I'm one of them. I don't necessarily like change all the time. I get used to my phone. I get used to my little protocol. And then the second I get used to it, some innovative person out there comes out and says, well, now we don't have a wire, or now we don't have this. So everybody, you saw when we first announced it, the audience was like, but you know, in 5 months, everybody will love it, and then they'll come out with something new. So kudos to Apple for ignoring people like me and just being innovative.
Let me
Don't
upgrade
get
you real quick.
comfortable.
Let me just upgrade you.
You can upgrade me.
Just upgrade yourself, and you'll be fine.
Enjoy.
Just upgrade.
Yeah, you know.
I once lost a diaphragm, okay? So these little earbuds are not going to work for me.
You may think you lost it, but if you look hard, I bet
I
you'll
forgot
find
it was there.
You know where it is. We'll be right back.
It's day 3 of our 20-day vacay giveaways. For 20 days, someone in our audience and a viewer at home are winning luxurious vacations at some of the hottest spots around the world. Thanks to our sponsor, Wyndham Rewards. Raven is blindfolded today in the win booth, which is full of numbers that represent today's studio audience, and she's about to pick a winner. Raven, are you ready, girl?
I was born ready, girl.
Woo! All right, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, press the button. It's on. It's not plugged in. It's not plugged in.
That was so much fun. 144. What's your name?
Gemma?
Hi, Gemma.
Hi.
Are you excited?
Yeah, kind of shocked. I really wasn't expecting this at all.
And where are you from?
Staten Island, New York.
I'm from
here.
Staten Island. All right, let's see where you're going on vacation.
You won a 5-night, 6-day trip for 2 with round-trip airfare to the Dominican Republic, courtesy of Wyndham Rewards. The Viva Wyndham V Heavens in Puerto Plata is an adults-only, all-inclusive retreat offering modern amenities, a spa, a variety of dining options, and much more.
And we are not done yet. We want to announce today's online winner as well. Congratulations, Mary Lindsay from Nashville, Tennessee. Woo! Let's see where our home viewer is going.
You won a 5-night, 6-day trip for 2 with round-trip airfare to Tucson, Arizona, courtesy of Wyndham Rewards. The Westward Look Wyndham Grand Resort and Spa has 241 well-appointed rooms offering private balconies with breathtaking views of the surrounding desert landscape. You can indulge in a soothing treatment at the award-winning Sonoran Spa or savor local flavors at one of 2 on-site restaurants.
We are giving away 2 more trips tomorrow, so tune in to see which audience member gets one. And viewers at home need to visit our website by midnight Eastern tonight to see how to enter for a chance to win tomorrow's vacay.
Well, that was kind of exciting.
Why does her mother?
Yes. I know. That's Jed's mom. Yeah.
Jedediah's mother's in the audience.
Yeah, that's Jed's mom right there. So wave and say hi. You know. You kind of, and you know, apparently the topics will continue after the view on Facebook Live. So be there. And what we'd like to say to you is, A, thank you for coming, because it always makes it more fun when there's live people in the audience. And Stretch? Well, you know, speaking of live people.
Tomorrow. Our guest tomorrow.
Chelsea Clinton is on tomorrow.
Okay. See, it didn't help. So I need to stretch some more. So here's the deal. Here's the deal.
Oh, Mary J. Blige.
All kinds of people are on tomorrow. Yeah, everybody wants to do it, but nobody can. So here's the deal. We're thrilled that you were here. We're thrilled that you were here.
Hey, I'm here.
Because we miss you.
I only see you a little time now. I'll be back and forth.
I know, but we really
That Staten Island is going to, where is she going? Miss Staten Island, where's she going?
She's going to Dominican Republic,
Dominican
Joy.
Republic, very nice.
Out there.
We're thrilled about
And
that.
so, and aside from that, we want you to have a great day and take a little time to enjoy the view.